Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Palette of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to our first issue of Warhammer 40k Combat Patrol for 2025. However, with a bit of a twist, because this is one of the missing issues. So, issue 14 turned up this week, considering we had issue 15 2 weeks before Christmas or something stupid like that. And now issue 14's turned up. So we're still missing issues 11, 12 and 13, and then 16, 17 and possibly 18, who knows. We're missing a fair few. Basically, whatever's been going on, the whole delivery schedule for this magazine has been completely ballsed up by the distributor. And yeah, they've screwed people over in certain places. So there are other areas of the UK where are also having the same problem, where certain issues haven't turned up for weeks, and they will have the same problem where these issues will randomly appear back, but completely out of order from where they should be, which is really frustrating to somebody like me who likes to have things collected in an order over this rubbish and how this pattern's going. So really frustrating. They really need to get their act together. Personally, I think the distributors at fault here. There is nobody else at fault. It's the 110% the distributor, so they need to really kick it up a gear, and Hatchet Artworks should really have words with them, really. So anyway, ramble over. So as per usual with all these videos, if you like the content, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and of course drop me a comment down below. I really do love hearing back from you guys. It goes a massive way to helping out the channel too. Now, issue 14. Issue 14 was a paint issue, so if you've not had this issue, we'll treat it like a brand new one. So with issue 14 you get Rakkar Flesh and you get Screamer Pink, both fairly decent, versatile paints. Now, I must admit, Rakkar Flesh I don't use very often. Screamer Pink, a little bit more often. So Rakkar Flesh will probably stay sealed for a long time. Screamer Pink, probably not as long. However, I have got nearly a full pot of this, so I don't really need it at the moment, but both of them pretty versatile, pretty good. Screamer Pink works very well for kind of a fleshy tongue areas and the insides and big mouths and such like that. And even for edge highlights on red leather, works very well. Your good old Rakkar Flesh, you may want to use it on parchment, inside books, purity seals. You can use it for flesh as well, so if you want that kind of grey, very muted tone to a skin shade, you can do that if you wanted to. So entirely up to you how you go about doing it, but it's one way of doing it. Going into the magazine, obviously it teaches you how to use these paints if you want to use them in exactly the same way. So first off, we do have Rakkar Flesh, using it for the purity seals, parchments and such like that on your Space Marines. Your choice. You don't have to do this. You can use what I do. I use Xandri Dust and I use Wraithbone, or you could just use Wraithbone and then say Seraphim Sepia over the top of it or something like that. It will work just as well. On the other page though, it does teach you about obviously Screamer Pink. So Screamer Pink for things like purity seals, your choice. You can do that if you wanted to. If you want to it in a different way, you can also use Baraknar Burgundy as base coat for the purity seal itself, and then Screamer Pink for the edge highlights. You can do that and it will work very well. On the other page though, we have the Screamer Pink of how you'd use it for, say, like the Tyranids, on things like tongues and stuff like that. Yeah, it works very well, so it's pretty good. So it does exactly the job that you need it to do. Moving on though, we get more information to do with the lore of Warhammer 40k and the Inquisition. So the Inquisition is much feared and is spoken of in hushed whispers across the Imperium, as the Emperor's mighty armies turn their gaze outwards in search of conquest. The sinister Inquisitors will defend the Imperium from threats within, whatever the cost. So, Inquisitors are among the most powerful individuals in the entire Imperium, At their command, worlds are destroyed, populations are decimated, and vast armies are mustered. Empowered by ancient laws to defend the Imperium, every Inquisitor has their own methods. So, the Inquisition, you can utilise them as kind of like as allies with a lot of Space Marine armies and such like that, or even good old the Astra Militarum, if you wanted to. And there are many different, a handful of different Inquisitors. So you have good old Malleus, Ordo Xenos, and Ordo Hereticus. So Ordo Hereticus obviously will go through the looking to get rid of dangerous psychers, cults, witches, and such like that resist the Imperium's repression. Ordo Xenos obviously hunting down Xenos, which, you know, is always good fun. And Ordo Malleus that looks towards kind of defending humanity from the demons and malevolent forces of chaos. If you got good old Imperium magazine, you got I've forgotten her name, but I think it was Draxa or something like that, who was pretty cool, and she does use an Eldari weapon, which is quite funny. But yeah, pretty good. And if you got the premium edition, if I remember rightly, you got good old Inquisitor Greyfax as well, which is really, really cool, and is one of the best looking Inquisitors that you can get, in my opinion. But really good. The only one I'm not a big fan of is him. He's got a big massive bird with him, but there's nothing else I like about it. So it's just one of them kind of minis where you either love a mini or you don't like a mini, and that's one of them ones where I'm like, it looks a bit bland, looks a bit boring, not really my cup of tea, but some people will absolutely love it. Anyway, moving on from there, we've got more reading supplement bits. So we have Oath of Moment. So to a Space Marine, honour is everything. If a Space Marine swears to bring down a hated foe, he will give everything in order to do so, even his life. Space Marines do not fear death. Each knows that it is his place to give his life for the Emperor. What matters to a Space Marine is his personal honour. By slaying a particularly hated enemy, a Space Marine secures his legend forever. So, in a roundabout way, if you look at it from the Age of Sigmar perspective, Stormcast Eternal, they are kind of there to live and die for their Emperor or / God King. So yeah, bit of a way of looking at it, but yeah, they are there to just literally fight, defend, and kill, and die, and that's it. But yeah, pretty cool, pretty interesting, and it's always nice to have a bit more information about the background of good old Space Marines. So, you get a bit more information about the mightiest foes and bearing witness as well. So they do like to, when an Oath of Moment is formally sworn, it must be witnessed, and such like that as well, which is always pretty cool. Then we get more information about the Third Tyrannic War. So 200 years passed between the First and Second Tyrannic Wars. A mere 5 passed between the Second and Third. So, striking deep into an Imperium still struggling to recover from the Tyranids' previous assaults, Hive Fleet Leviathan carved a path of destruction across the galaxy and almost wiped out an entire chapter. So, the Tyrannic Wars are, in all honesty, pretty cool, because the Hive fleets come in as a big massive wave, and there is such a huge gap between the first one and the second one, but then a very, very minuscule gap between the second and the third, which makes it even more interesting and means that the Tyranids seem to be ramping stuff up, which is pretty cool. Each wave brings in new enemies, which makes them a little bit more dangerous and a little bit more fearsome and very, very cool. And then you get a bit more interventions as well and such like that as well, and a bit more information about how that war plays out. But it's really, really cool. So I do quite like this stuff. Really good. Then moving on, we've got our play section. So basics number 11. Obviously, I'm probably missing a fair few bits of this. All about deployment. So if I was playing along with the magazine, there are obviously a lot of bits that I will not understand because I have not had them, which is really, really frustrating. But deploying your models is very, very obviously important, and having strategic deployments works very, very well, and you can deploy with it in your favour, depending on how you roll, and who you're up against can work very, very well, depending on how you're deploying, depending on your range and such like that as well. So, can be good fun. So, it gives you a few tips of how to deploy your infiltrators and your deep strike units as well, because some units can be deployed behind enemy lines and such like that, but very, very rarely, and some can be hidden. But otherwise, really, really cool, good bit of information, and it's always very, very good to see this type of stuff. Then we move on, we have our deep strike scenario number 10. If you're going to be playing this, you'll be using a Captain and Terminator armour, 5 Infernus Marines and 2 Terminators, going up against 5 Barb Gaunts, 3 Von Ryan's Leapers and 10 Termagants. Pretty decent, pretty fun, and you get to use a bit of the Tyranid terrain and have some objective markers out there as well, which makes things a little bit more fun. Obviously, kill the enemy, capture a good lot of objectives, have fun, score as many points as you can, enjoy yourself. But otherwise, really, really good. And obviously, the games will get harder the more the magazine goes on, but yeah, eventually we'll catch up to the correct week, hopefully. Anyway, it is what it is. So yeah, happy days. All really, really good stuff from there. Moving on though, so obviously we already know what came with issue 15 because it's for Psychophage, because, you know, it's fair. We've already had it. We've had it for a couple of weeks. Issue 16 is going to be a paint issue whenever that turns up. Who knows? Mephiston Red, Squig Orange. Yeah, they're all right colours. They're pretty good. Mephiston Red I use a lot more than Squig Orange. But yeah, it is what it is. Eventually, as I say, we will catch up to the correct issue. Who knows when that'll be though. But yeah. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you very, very much for watching. And yeah, I'll see you sometime soon. Bye-bye now.